Are you thinking of moving to the Boston area? Not the suburbs, but Boston proper? Today I have a special guest, Zachariah Cook from the Element Boston office. Zach is a former resident and a neighborhood expert. Welcome, Zach.
Thank you, Jane. I'm happy to be here.
Today we're going to introduce you to one of our favorite neighborhoods in Boston, Back Bay. And you're going to recognize some of the photos we're going to share as they are quintessential, the epitome of what makes Boston beautiful. It's a blend of charm, culture, and just an amazing place to live. I'm Jane. I'm a realtor based in Wellesley, Massachusetts. And each week on this channel, we put out a different video highlighting a different area or maybe different price points, and all to help you make informed decisions about moving to the Boston area. And we thought, heck, somebody might want to live in downtown Boston.
All right, let's do it.
So where is Back Bay exactly, Zach?
All right, so if you were to look at Back Bay on a map, you're going to see that the Charles River is to the north of Back Bay. Cambridge is on the other side of Charles River. You're going to see Beacon Hill in the Boston Commons on the east side. You're going to have South End on the south side. And then you're going to have neighborhoods such as the Fenway and Kenmore on the west side of the Back Bay.
The style of Back Bay really varies.
Back Bay is a very unique neighborhood for any city, but specifically for Boston. If you look at the Boston skyline, you're going to see a mix of newer, modern high-rise buildings, quintessential Back Bay brownstone buildings, which are traditionally row houses, apartment style, some single-family homes that were built in the late 1800s.
So a lot of those, years ago, I remember visiting a friend and their whole apartment was a condo that was like the ballroom from one of those elegant older 1880s, I guess federal style homes?
Absolutely. When you get into these buildings, many of them have been broken up into apartment style homes or luxury condominiums. It's really great to be able to use your imagination as to what these homes used to look like.
Let's talk about my favorite part of Back Bay. My parents grew up in Boston. And when my kids were little, my parents were living on Beacon Hill, and we spent a lot of time in the public garden and on the swan boats and hopping around on the Make Way for Ducklings sculptures. So when I think of the public gardens, what I think of first is the swan boats. Tell us about the swan boats.
Swan boats, great activity. If you're visiting Boston or if you end up moving to Boston, you have to spend some time on the swan boats at the public gardens. There's also park benches where you can have picnics. They hold a lot of events at these gardens. And if you've ever seen the movie Good Will Hunting, there's a famous scene on a park bench in the public gardens.
And there's also beautiful bridges and just gorgeous weeping willows over probably what is a man-made pond. I don't think that's a natural water feature.
It's definitely a man-made pond. And a couple fun facts. First, that suspension bridge is the smallest suspension bridge in the country.
Didn't know that.
So very interesting. And
he's the expert, see?
And second off, that's where I proposed to my wife, on that suspension bridge.
Oh, that's so sweet. You do see a lot of people taking wedding photos. You'll catch a bride in her wedding gown quite often.
Absolutely. I think we can also mention that there's seasons to it. Like you're always going to see a transition of the flowers and the gardens depending on the season.
Zach, tell us about the streets. When I was a kid, I was amazed that my father could name all the streets from Arlington to Mass Ave, and then I realized that they're alphabetical. So I can do it too. Arlington, Berkeley, Clarendon, Dartmouth, Exeter, Fairfield, Gloucester, blah, blah, blah. So tell us about that part of town.
Well, I think I went through probably the first 3 years of my real estate career working in Back Bay on Newbury Street, not even putting together the correlation that they were in alphabetical order. But once I learned that, I shared everybody that we meet with so that they can see that. But in the 1850s, the Back Bay was a man-made neighborhood. It was a bay.
And it was in the back of Beacon Hill, so it was the Back Bay.
It was a bay. And essentially, if you could visualize this, Beacon Street, which runs along the Charles River, was a dam. And everything else was pretty much water. So they filled it in and they were able to create the neighborhood that they envisioned, which created pretty much the only grid system in Boston.
That's for sure. We promised you some cons about living in Back Bay. So let's talk about parking or lack of parking and traffic, meaning lots of traffic.
There is a lot of traffic. The Back Bay attracts a lot of tourists. So you have the residents who live in the Back Bay, and then you have the tourists that come in to visit the Back Bay, to go to the restaurants, the salons, the shops, that sort of thing. So you're going to get caught in quite a bit of pedestrian traffic, especially in the summertime on the weekends.
So parking's tough whether you're visiting or even if you want to live there. Because not every condo comes with parking. But can you rent it?
That's right. Yeah, you do have options with parking. Now, two things on the parking. First, I would say a lot of people that I work with, whether they're buying a condo in the Back Bay or whether they are renting in Back Bay, if they're moving into the neighborhood, after 6 months to a year, a lot of them give up their car if they don't have a parking spot included with their unit. And the reason is we have lots in the city, you have lots of alternative options, especially with Uber and Lyft and Zipcar, that sort of thing. So a lot of people have eliminated that expense and built that into their housing cost. Now, if you are going to have a car, as you mentioned, parking is very expensive and it is limiting. So there's garages throughout the Back Bay. There's also private parking spaces in the alleyways. If you're going to rent a space, it's going to cost you somewhere around $250 a month for a tandem space. That's a back-to-back car. If you're going to rent the entire row, it might be closer to $500. Garage parking is around $500. And if you want to purchase a space, you're going to be somewhere around $150,000 to $200,000 for a parking spot, depending on the location in Back Bay.
Yeah, so I think I'd get rid of my car too.
Just get rid of the car, yeah.
And then finally, real estate is expensive. I mean, you're paying for location, and we're going to jump in and share some recent sales with you from 2025.
Absolutely. I mean, I would say this. I started my career in 2009 in the bottom of the Great Recession.
You sure did. My goodness, you were brave.
I would. And one thing that I noticed from the start is that real estate in Back Bay, the prices did not decline. Days on market increased, but prices did not decline. That's all location based, high demand, and you have to take into account at one point, 40% of every transaction in Back Bay was cash. So you have buyers who have a ton of equity in their home. If things get tight in the economy, they don't get forced to sell. So what you do get is high prices, but you get high stability, whether you're an investor or an owner-occupant.
Wow, that's so interesting. So now we're going to jump into some real estate recent sales, and Zach's going to take the lead. So Zach, if you're thinking about buying in the Back Bay, what are the things that you think we should keep in mind?
Good properties always sell fast. So you want to position yourself where when you go and see that property that you are interested in buying, that perfect property for you and your family, you want to be in position to be able to buy it. So you want to make sure you have your lending lined up. You want to make sure you have a great realtor on your team, and you want to make sure that you are in tune with what is going on, especially in a neighborhood like Back Bay, where it could be very much street by street, block by block,
building by building,
building dependent. So you want to make sure that if you're looking for something specific, you and your broker are having those conversations so that you are ready and educated to make a move when you see that property you like.
What else do you tell first-time buyers when you're first driving them around Back Bay to look at real estate?
I let them know that those first 5 years are going to be kind of tough. You're not going to see a ton of equity just because, as we mentioned, it's going to be more of a modest growth. Whereas if you go to other neighborhoods around Boston, you might see more exponential growth.
Oh, interesting.
Modest growth because you have stability. So those first 5 years, don't anticipate in a normal market that you're going to acquire a ton of additional equity. But over time, I've never seen anybody lose in Back Bay when it comes to real estate.
That's amazing.
Okay, let's get started here. We're looking at a condo that recently sold at 483 Beacon Street, which is in the Back Bay. This is unit number 63. And this condo sold for $500,000. And if you're trying to get context on the neighborhood, there were probably a total of 4 sales that took place in Back Bay for under $500,000 within the last 6 months. This condo is 335 square feet, which for many of you, you're like, that's crazy. I can't believe somebody lives in 335 square feet. But in the city, they do. It's a great rental property in regard to if you purchase this, and what a lot of people do is they'll purchase a condo in the city so that they can own a small piece of Boston. They'll live in it for a number of years. As life changes, they keep it and it becomes an investment property for them. So let's dive into this building. 483 Beacon Street was built in 1899, and it was originally constructed as a hotel, Hotel Cambridge. In 1982, it was converted to condominiums, and the units were sold off as individual units within inside the building. Now, if you're not familiar with what a condominium is, it's not a timeshare. It's not a co-op. You own a piece of the building. You're responsible for everything inside of your walls of that unit. And then you have a condo association that manages the entirety of the property, but does not have ownership with inside your unit. At 335 square feet, The unit sold for right around $1,492 a square foot. Okay, so this is what a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom looks like. That's 335 square feet. You can see you have oversized windows. The positioning of this unit is on the Mass Ave side of the street. So you're going to be facing west. You're going to get great sunsets. If you could look closely, you might even be able to see it here. When you look out the window, you're going to see the Citgo sign. And the Citgo sign is a famous landmark here in Boston that indicates where Fenway Park is. So you're looking west towards the Fenway, towards Kenmore. You're on the 6th floor. So most of the buildings, not all, but the majority of the buildings in Back Bay are 5-story buildings. So you're above the other buildings, so you're going to have pretty much an unobstructed view. If you were to stick your head out of the window and look to your right, you're going to be looking at the Charles River in Cambridge. If you were to look to the left, you'd be looking down Mass Ave towards Berklee College of Music. Fairly standard kitchen. A couple things to point out. If you're not from Massachusetts or from Boston, some things that you get inside this unit that you might not at this price point is a dishwasher. That is not a common thing that you're going to get maybe in the price point of under $500,000. You have hardwood floors, you have high ceilings. You actually have a pretty good sized bedroom where you could fit a full or queen size bed. Bathroom could use some updates. You know, that's some opportunity for a buyer to go in and make some cosmetic updates to a kitchen and bath. You can see the lobby was a traditional hotel lobby. Things have been broken up a little bit. Another thing that might surprise you if you were to come and take a look at this particular building is that elevator is tiny. You might fit 3 people in that elevator. So moving in and moving out, it's something that you always want to take a look at. Most people hire movers when they're moving into the Back Bay just because it helps with parking and it helps with logistics of actually getting in to your unit without too much of a hassle. Moving can be challenging enough. Really nice thing, Alicia Ingalls, who was the listing agent for this particular unit, she had a floor plan made. So you can take a look at that floor plan and you can see the layout. No wasted space, open kitchen, a little breakfast bar into the living room. All of your windows are going to get great afternoon sunlight, so it's going to be a bright unit. And you're getting into a top tier neighborhood for $500,000. We got to take a look at a property that was $500,000 or less. And the next category we're going to look at is the mid-range. So the average sales price in the Back Bay is somewhere right around $1.2 million. We're going to look at 76 Marlborough Street, unit number 1. This is a 1,108 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo. Now, Marlborough Street is, if you were to take 10 people who live in the Back Bay, if they're not biased about their particular property, and you ask them, which street do you think is the best street to live on in Back Bay? I'm going to wager that 8 out of 10 people are going to say Marlborough Street. And here's why. Sidewalks are brick laid. Streets are lit by gaslit lanterns. Beautiful brick and brownstone buildings. Very few commercial. There's no retail, but there might be a doctor's office. There's a private school. There's private dentist practices and that sort of thing, but extremely residential. So you have a residential Marlborough Street, and then 2 streets over you have Newbury Street, which is retail galore, restaurants, shopping, tourist, all that sort of thing. So Marlborough Street is, you get the quiet neighborhood, 2 blocks from the Charles River Esplanade, and 2 blocks from Newbury Street shopping and dining. So it's an ideal location within inside the Back Bay. Now, this particular listing came on the market at $1.295 million, so $1.3 million. And they accepted an offer before they even did the open houses. So the open house was canceled. When you take a look at this property, it's located between Berklee Street and Clarendon Street. So it's a prime location. Again, no lost space. You have an updated kitchen with the breakfast bar. A lot of people move into the city and they're looking for a place to put their dining room table. In a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, chances are you don't have a place for a dining room table. You have a breakfast bar, and maybe you put a small cafe table with inside the unit or in the bay window, whatever that might be. You can actually see in this picture on the right-hand side, they put a small dining table in the bay window. Almost floor-to-ceiling windows. You have the recessed lights. You have the charm of the exposed brick. I just love the exposed brick in these apartments. where you can put the black frame. Pictures shows really well. This has newer floors. When it comes to fireplaces, not all fireplaces in condominiums are functional. Some of them are, and some of them are maintained, and a seller cannot disclose whether a fireplace is functional or not, but they can let you know, yes, we have used it. Yes, we've had it swept recently. So they can give you details if they do use it. You can see that this has a beautiful marble fireplace. A lot of these homes, when they were originally single families, they might have had 5 or 6 fireplaces within inside the home. Lovely kitchen, stainless steel appliances. You can see that you do have the dishwasher. You do have the built-in microwave. Open concept. Now, if you look at the bedrooms here, the primary bedroom has an ensuite. It also has room for a king-size bed. Looks like you have a walk-in closet, deep soaking tub, and your second bedroom, and this is fairly traditional with these layouts, the second bedroom is used as a home office. So you traditionally have one room that's a primary and one room that's a smaller room. Oftentimes it's used as a home office or a nursery for young children, or a child's room, or maybe just a guest room. It looks like you have some private outdoor space, which is great. Get outside, get some fresh air, maybe relax at night when you get home. But this is what you get for $1.3 million in the Back Bay. Now, this is a lower level. If this were to be an upper floor, same square footage, you might add another $100,000 to $200,000 for something with similar features and similar finishes. So that wraps up 76 Marlborough Street, unit number 1. All right, now the Back Bay is your playground. If you're a high net worth individual, you're gonna have options here. We're not New York prices, but if you have a cool 15 million, a cool 20 million, we can help you invest that here in Boston. So the final third property is located at 2 Commonwealth Avenue, which is at the base of Arlington Street and Commonwealth Ave. This particular unit is 3,600. This is unit 16B, C, and D. So you will find that in some of these larger buildings, residents might live in a unit and then over time acquire the units that are abutting units and then do a full renovation to expand to have a more expansive condo property. This particular unit is 3,603 square feet and it's comprised of 3 bedrooms and 3.5 bathrooms. It does have a private outdoor space as well and 2 attached underground parking spaces. Not all units sell at their full price. As you can see, this was listed at $17,500,000. It sold for an even $15 million. And let's just take a quick look at days on market. That was 29 days on market. So under 30 days. Pretty quick closing. All right, so from the beginning, you can see that this is very expansive as far as your living space. Huge living room. Look at all those windows. Appears to be a corner unit. You had views of the Charles River. You also had views of the Boston Commons. I think we're going to see some photos of the Commons. And it's going to help you actually get a better grasp on what we talked about earlier in the video pertaining to the Boston Commons and how it is landscaped, the public gardens. Kitchen is a custom kitchen, custom cabinetry, stone countertops, and very high-end, high-quality appliances. You do have your dining space with that beautiful picture window. Unbelievable views. There's the Charles River. You can see it right there. Now on the other side of the Charles River, you have Cambridge. This unit really lives like it's a home. You have an entry foyer here. So a nice place to kind of walk into your front door and kind of decompress from the day and let things go before you go into your actual condo apartment. I love the windows. I mean, throughout you just see floor to ceiling windows with these picturesque views of the city. Okay, so this room is very interesting. You have the wood panel, the built-in storage, the built-in shelving, the coffered ceilings. Again, you have windows with tremendous views. Leads into a private bath. Looks like there's a desk space there as well. Here's a primary suite. Grand. For Back Bay, you just don't find this type of space. This is a combination of 3 units, obviously, so they were really able to make these rooms as grand as possible. I imagine a buyer at $15 million will probably come into this unit and do some updates, whether it be in the bathroom, maybe some customization. Oftentimes you see when a buyer's spending that type of money, they want to customize their home to make it feel like their home. So area rugs may come up. Those might be replaced. It could be hardwoods put down. Bathrooms are going to get upgraded most likely. Outdoor space, you can see that you have a little outdoor space here. That's amazing. That's something that is, again, definitely a bonus if you're living in the Back Bay to have private outdoor space. But just as I look at these photos, I would imagine there's going to be a renovation that takes place at some point. Look at those views. So you can see the public gardens, you can see downtown Boston. They call that Midtown, downtown. I see Millennium Tower there, the Ritz-Carlton. On the right-hand side, it looks like you have the Four Seasons and the Heritage Building. Just all that greenery is just an uncommon view when you're looking at city living. And maybe this floor plan can give us a little more insight. So yeah, so it looks like you have bedroom, bedroom, bedroom. You have a foyer area here, and then all your rooms divided off. Just really a top-notch building. So let's go back to why somebody might purchase a unit like this. One, it's a prestigious address at 2 Commonwealth Avenue. Also, this is oftentimes not the primary residence of this particular buyer, of a buyer who's going to buy a $15 million place. They likely have homes in other parts of the world. So they love the conveniences of the 24-hour concierge, the security on site, the underground parking, the hotel amenities, such as if they want to get some sort of room service from one of the local restaurants, they have that option there. And just to have like the base of Newbury Street where all of your shopping, all of your dining is just fingertips away, footsteps away from where you're living. And when you are traveling, whether it's to another home or on vacation, you can lock the door and feel comfortable that your home is well cared for. You're going to have no issues while you're away. And then when you are spending time in Boston during the seasons that you want to, you have this incredible view. So the location is prime. It's an unbelievable property with a very prestigious address. So there you have it. We've gone through 3 different listings that have sold in Boston recently. $500,000, $1.3 million, and $15 million. If you have around $500,000 to spend, we're going to have a handful of options. If you have $10 to $20 million, we're going to have quite a bit more options. Boston has continued to rise to the occasion and compete with other international cities across the globe. We expect that it will continue to do that. So if you are interested in purchasing a piece of Boston, it doesn't matter what your budget is. We can find something for you.
Well, thank you for tagging along as we took a walk through Back Bay with Zach Cook, our Boston expert. And if you are considering buying in Boston, please reach out, as Zach would be the perfect person to help you. And if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe and let us know what other neighborhoods you'd be interested in hearing about. But we will put out a video on Beacon Hill next. So please check back next week and we'd love to see you there. Thanks for watching.